All right. How you doing, YouTube? Good day. Hey, so this is gonna be the first video discussing caches. I've trying to figure out how I'm gonna do this. Everybody's been talking about burying their stuff lately, and then we had all our bad weather, and I knew it wasn't going outside. So I want to start off with just a broad based on what you're looking at doing, and there's two ways to think about that. And I see that as strategic and tactical caches, or caches, depending on where you're from and how you're raised and how technical you want to get into it. I've called it cache for so many years, and then I had to call it cache because I don't want to offend anybody. But the strategic and tactical meaning for a very specific purpose and a very specific need at a very specific time. Strategic being broad-based, very broad, covering a lot of different needs. There are covert and there are overt caches. One that is out in the open, you see it, it's there. You know, if you open it up, there it is. And there's obviously covert, where large majority of what you see on YouTube is people burying their caches for different reasons, in different places and whatnot. So in those different categories, you got basically 4 different types: overt tactical, covert tactical, overt strategic, covert strategic. And really thinking about where you would place those, and in particular with the tactical, why. Strategic, just, extra stuff away from your normal location, normal operating base, home base, homestead, whatever, and what that is. With your covert strategic, obviously, is to be buried or to be covered up with something else, something blocking it from general view or general being able to get into it. I often think of a strategic one as being one that is it's a place you're going to go to in a plan. It's a place that's pre-planned. Now, in a lot of respects, if this location is somebody else, it's a prepper. You really don't need one there. You're just going to have that mutual agreement, understanding that if you have to come there, they've got enough stuff to cover you. Obviously, you could provide more to bulk up their stuff, but if it's someplace that you already know and they know that they're prepping and you're prepping, it's just got to be a mutual understanding of support. But let's say it's something like your mom's, your grandma, granddaddy, people like that, people that aren't really in the prepping mindset, but it's another location that you can relocate to, and you can pre-stage extra kit for, say, especially if you have a family, especially if you got like a family of 5 or 6 or 8 or whatever, and you're going to go back to the old place where the folks live. You're probably going to need to pre-stage something there, make a cache of stuff, whether you decide that needs to be clothing and equipment, or it needs to be weapons and material, or whatever, food, additional food. You're providing that, and you're providing it it can be hidden away somewhere in the barn, back of the garage, buried, or it could be overt. It could just be in the back of the pantry, in the back of their closet. It could just be there as an extra something if you ever had to bug out and go there, and you know that you don't have to bug out with quite as much, especially if you can't because of the situation, and you just take what is on your back basically, and you go there and you've got a little bit of supply, especially when you think about food, when you're going to be a burden on somebody else, that extra bit of canned food that you stage there, that obviously, especially if you're talking about your old folks, they don't go through that much food. Especially if you're bringing a family of 4 or 5, to pre-stage and have a set aside there with them of additional, because you're going to really cut into any type of food stores they have fairly quick. Even the older generation who can a lot and everything else, you bring in a family of 5, they're going to start burning through all their stuff pretty quick. So pre-staging something that's pretty robust. Is something to think about, and having that there. So there's thinking about that, strategically placing things like that. The tactical cache, something that's very specific for a specific reason. This is going to go a lot into burying your tools of destruction, your weapons. Those I would consider, anybody that, if you bury a weapon, that is what I would call a tactical cache. Very specific for a very specific reason. You're burying guns and ammo. Very specific reasons that you need to do that. Very specific reasons you need to get it back and recover it. There are many videos on how to do it. The question is where and why. The adage has often been said, if it's time to bury them, it's time to dig them up. Obviously, we're pre-planning here. We're not saying it's the time yet. You're pre-planning for the on the horizon event, of whether it's foreign invasion or otherwise. Something to just, Russian paratroopers fall out of the sky. What are you going to do, right? So something to think about. That's what I would consider a tactical. Really, it doesn't really go into much else if you have food or whatnot.